Hare Krishna. Welcome to today's reading of Srimad Bhagavatam. We will continue reading from verse 17, chapter 29, canto 3. Chapter is entitled Explanation of Devotional Service by Lord Kapila Dev. But before that, we recite glorification verses of Srimad Bhagavatam from Mahima Stotra. Sarva Shastra Piyusha, Sarva Vedaika Satpala, Sarva Siddhant Narat Nadya, Sarva Lokaika Drikpada, Sarva Bhagavata Prana, Srimad Bhagavata Prabhu, Kalidvantodita Ditya, Shri Krishna Parivartita, Paramananda Patnaya, Prema Vakshaksharayate, Sarvanda Sarvasivyaya, Shri Krishna Namostume, Madhika Bandhu Matsangin, Madguru Mat Mahadana, Manishtaraka Mat Bhagya, Madranda Namostute, Asadu Saduta Dayin, Atini Chocha Taraka, Hanamuncha Kadachin Mam Premna Harit Kantayospura. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all of the worlds. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Srimad Bhagavatam, you are the sun reason in the darkness of Kali, you are the exact image of Shri Krishna. I bow down to you who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Shri Krishna himself. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me, always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, welcome again. Hope you see me and especially hear me well. Doesn't matter if you don't see me, but I hope you hear me well. So we're continuing reading today, Hare Krishna. We're at Canto 3, chapter 29, text 17. Pure devotee should execute devotional service by giving the greatest respect to the spiritual master and the acharyas. He should be compassionate to the poor and make friendship with persons who are his equals. But all his activities should be executed under regulation and control of the senses. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita 13th chapter, it is clearly stated that one should execute devotional service and advance on the path of spiritual knowledge by accepting the acharya upasanam. One should worship an acharya, a spiritual master who knows things as they are. The spiritual master must be in the disciplic succession from Krishna. The predecessors of the spiritual master are his spiritual master, his grand spiritual master, his great grand spiritual master, and so on, who form the disciplic succession of acharyas. It is recommended herewith that all the acharyas be given the highest respect. It is stated, Gurushu Naramatihi. Gurushu means unto the acharyas, and Naramatihi means thinking like a common man. To think of the Vaishnavas, the devotees, as belonging to a particular caste or community, to think of the acharyas as ordinary men, or to think of the deity in the temple as being made of stone, wood, or metal, is condemned. Niyamena. One should offer the greatest respect to the acharyas according to the standard regulations. A devotee should also be compassionate to the poor. This does not refer to those who are poverty-stricken materially. According to devotional vision, a man is poor if he is not in Krishna consciousness. A man may be very rich materially, but if he is not Krishna conscious. On the other hand, many acharyas, such as Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, used to live beneath trees every night. Superficially, it appeared that they were poverty-stricken, but from their writings we can understand that in spiritual life they were the richest personalities. A devotee shows compassion to those poor souls who are wanting in spiritual knowledge by enlightening them in order to elevate them to Krishna consciousness. That is one of the duties of a devotee. He should also make friendship with persons who are on an equal level with himself or who have the same understanding that he does. For a devotee, there is no point in making friendships with ordinary persons. He should make friendship with other devotees so that by discussing among themselves, they may elevate one another on the path of spiritual understanding. This is called Ishta Goshti. In Bhagavad Gita, there is reference to Bodhayan discussing among themselves. Generally, pure devotees utilize their valuable time in chanting and discussing various activities of Lord Krishna or Lord Chaitanya amongst themselves. There are innumerable books such as the Puranas, Mahabharata, Bhagavatam, for discussion among two devotees or more. Friendship should be cemented between persons with mutual interests and understanding. Such persons are said to be Svajati, of the same caste. The devotee should avoid a person whose character is not fixed in the standard understanding. Character is not fixed in the standard understanding. Even though he may be a Vaishnava or a devotee of Krishna, if his character is not correctly representative, then he should be avoided. One should steadily control the senses and the mind and not strictly follow the rules and regulations, and he should make friendship with persons of the same standard. Text 18. A devotee should always try to hear about spiritual matters and should always utilize his time in chanting the holy name of the Lord. His behavior should always be straightforward and simple, and although he is not envious but friendly to everyone, he should avoid the company of persons who are not spiritually advanced. Purport. In order to advance in spiritual understanding, one has to hear from authentic sources about spiritual knowledge. One can understand the reality of spiritual life by following strict regulative principles and by controlling the senses. To have clarity, that one be non-violent and truthful, refrain from stealing, abstain from sex life, and possess only that which is absolutely necessary for keeping the body and soul together. One should not eat more than necessary. He should not collect more paraphernalia than necessary. He should not talk unnecessarily with common men, and he should not follow the rules and regulations without purpose. He should follow the rules and regulations so that he may actually make advancement. There are 18 qualifications mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, among which is simplicity. One should be without pride. One should not demand unnecessary respect from others, and one should be non-violent. Amanitam adabitvam ahimsa. One should be very tolerant and simple. One should accept the spiritual master, and one should control the senses. These are mentioned here and in Bhagavad Gita as well. One should hear from authentic sources how to advance in spiritual life. Such instructions should be taken from the Acharya and should be assimilated. It is especially mentioned here, Nama Sankirtanat Cha. One should chant the holy names of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, either individually or with others. Lord Chaitanya has given special chanting of these holy names of the Lord as the basic principle of advancement. Another word used is Arjavena, meaning without diplomacy. A devotee should not out of self-interest. Of course, preachers sometimes have to make some plan to execute the mission of the Lord under proper guidance, but regarding personal self-interest, a devotee should always be without diplomacy, and he should accompany the company of persons who are not advancing in spiritual life. Another word is Arya. Aryans are persons who are advancing in knowledge of consciousness as well as in material prosperity. The difference between the Aryan and non-Aryan, the Sura and Asura, is in their standard of spiritual advancement. Association with persons who are not spiritually advanced is forbidden. Lord Chaitanya has advised Asatsanga Tyaga. One should avoid persons who are attached to the temporary. Asat is one who is too materially attached, who is not a devotee of the Lord, and who is too attached to women or enjoyable material things. Such a person, according to Vaishnava philosophy, is a persona non grata. A devotee should not be proud of his acquisitions. The symptoms of a devotee are mixed humility. Although spiritually very advanced, he will always remember, as Kaviraj Goswami and all the other Vaishnavas have taught us by personal example. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught that one should be humbler than the grass on the street and more tolerant than the tree. One should not be proud of falsely puffed up. In this way, one may surely advance in spiritual life. Text 19. When one is fully qualified with all these transcendental attributes and his consciousness is thus completely purified, he is immediately attracted simply by hearing my name or hearing of my transcendental quality. That is Kapila Dev speaking. Purport by Srila Prabhupada, as all the purports are. In the beginning of this instruction, the Lord explained to his mother that Madguna Shruti Matrena, simply by hearing of the name, quality, form, etc. of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one is immediately. A person becomes fully qualified with all qualities by following the rules and regulations as recommended in different scriptures. We have developed certain unnecessary qualities by material association. Following the above process, we become free from that contamination. Unnecessary qualities. To develop transcendental qualities, as explained in the previous verse, one must become free from these contaminated qualities. So we have to get rid of contaminants, so then only we can develop the transcendental qualities, authorized qualities. Yes, text 20. As the chariot of air carries an aroma from its source and immediately catches the sense of smell, similarly, constantly in devotional service in Krishna consciousness can catch the Supreme Soul, who is equally present everywhere. Purport. As a breeze carrying a pleasant fragrance from a garden of flowers at once captures the organ of smell, so one's consciousness saturated with devotion can at once capture the transcendental existence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who in Brahmatma feature is present everywhere, even in the heart of every living being. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Kshetragya, present within this body, but he is also simultaneously present in the other body. Since the individual soul is present only in a particular body, his altar does not cooperate with him. The Supersoul, however, is equally present everywhere. Individual souls may disagree, but the Supersoul being present in every body is called unchanging or avikardi. The individual soul, when fully saturated with Krishna consciousness, can understand the presence of the Supersoul. It is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita that Bhaktyamam Abhijanati, a person saturated with devotion to Krishna consciousness, can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead either as Supersoul or as the Supreme Person. Text 21. I am present in every living entity as the Supersoul. If someone neglects or disregards that Supersoul everywhere and engages himself in the worship of the deity in the temple, that is simply imitation. Purport. In purified consciousness is the presence of Krishna everywhere. If therefore one only engages in deity worship in a temple and does not consider the other living entities, then he is in the lowest grade of devotional service. Worships the deity in the temple and does not show respect to other is a devotee on the material platform in the lowest stage of devotion. A devotee should try to understand everything in relationship with Krishna and try to serve everything in that spirit. To serve everything means to engage everything in the service of Krishna. If a person is innocent and does not know his relation with Krishna, an advanced devotee should try to engage him in the service of Krishna. One who is advanced in Krishna consciousness can engage not only the living being, but everything in the service of Krishna. Text 22. One worships the deity of Godhead in the temples, but does not know that the Supreme Lord, as Paramatma, is situated in every living entity's heart, must be in ignorance and is compared to one who obliges. Purport. It is stated clearly herein that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his plenary of Supersoul, is present in all living entities. The living entities have 8,400,000 different kinds of bodies, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead is living in every body, both as the individual soul and as the Supersoul. Since the individual soul is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, in that sense the Lord is living in every body, and as Supersoul, the Lord is also present as a witness. In both cases, the presence of God in every living entity is essential. Therefore, persons who profess to belong to some religious sect, but who do not feel the presence of the Supreme Personality of God in every living entity and everywhere else, are in the mode of ignorance. If this preliminary knowledge of the Lord's omnipresence, one simply attaches himself to the rituals in a temple, church, or mosque, it is as if he were offering butter into ashes rather than into the fire. One offers sacrifices by pouring clarified butter into a fire and chanting Vedic mantras. But even if they are Vedic mantras and all conditions are favorable, if the clarified butter is poured on ashes, then such a sacrifice will be useless. In other words, a devotee should not ignore any living entity. In other words, a devotee should not ignore any living entity. The devotee must know that however insignificant he may be, in an end, God is present, and therefore every living entity should be kindly treated and should not be subjected to any violence. In modern civilized society, slow maintained and supported by a certain type of religious principle. But without knowledge of the presence of a living entity, any so-called advancement of human civilization, either spiritual or material, is to be understood as being in the mode of ignorance. Text 23. One who offers me respect but is envious of the bodies of others and is therefore separatist never attains peace of mind because of his inimical behavior with other living entities. Phrases. Bhuteshu bada vairasya, inimical towards others, and vishata parakhaye, envy of another's body, are significant. One who is envious of or inimical towards others never experiences any happiness. A devotee's vision, therefore, must be perfect. He should ignore bodily distinctions and should see only the presence of the part and parcel of the Supreme Lord and the Lord himself in his plenary expansion as Supersoul. That is the vision of a pure devotee. The bodily expression of a particular type of living entity is ignored by the devotee. It is expressed herein that the Lord is always eager to deal with conditioned souls who have been encaged within material bodies. Devotees are expected to carry the message or desire of the Lord to such conditioned souls and enlighten them with Krishna consciousness. Thus, they may be elevated to transcendental spiritual life, and the mission of their lives will be successful. Of course, this is not possible for living entities who are lower than us, But in human society, it is feasible that all living entities can be enlightened with Krishna consciousness. Even living entities who are lower than human can be raised to Krishna consciousness by other methods. For example, Shivananda Sena, a great devotee of Lord Chaitanya, delivered a dog by feeding him prasada. Distributing of prasada, or remnants of foodstuffs offered to the Lord, even to the ignorant masses of people and to animals, gives such living entities the chance for elevation to Krishna consciousness. Factually, it happened that the same dog, when met by Lord Chaitanya was liberated from the material condition. It is especially mentioned here that a devotee must be free from all violence, jiva himsa. Lord Chaitanya has recommended that a devotee not commit violence to any living entity. Sometimes the question is raised that since vegetables also have life and devotees take vegetable foodstuffs, isn't that violence? Firstly, however, taking some leaves, twigs or fruit from a tree or plant does not kill the plant. Besides that, jiva himsa means that since every living entity is a type of body according to his past karma, although every living entity is eternal, he should not be disturbed by gradual evolution. A devotee has to execute the principles of devotional service exactly as they are, and he must know that, however insignificant a living entity may be, the Lord is present within him. A devotee must realize this universal presence of the Lord. Text 24. My dear mother, so Devahuti is here, the mother being spoken by Kapila Dev. My dear mother, even if he worships with proper rituals and paraphernalia, a person who is ignorant of my presence in all living entities never pleases me by the worship of my deities in the temple. Purport. There are 64 different prescriptions for worship of the deity in the temple. There are many items offered to the deity, some valuable and some less valuable. Described in Bhagavad Gita, if a devotee offers me a small flower, a leaf, some water or a little fruit, I would eat it. The real purpose is to exhibit one's loving devotion to the Lord. The offerings themselves are secondary. If one has not developed loving devotion to the Lord and simply offers kindness without real devotion, the offering will not be accepted by the Lord. We cannot bribe the personality of Godhead. He is so great that our bribery has no value, nor has he any scarcity. Since he is fully himself, what can we offer him? Everything is produced by him. We simply offer to show our love and gratitude to the Lord. This gratitude and love for God is exhibited by a pure devotee who knows that the Lord lives in every living entity. As such, temple worship necessarily includes distribution of prasada. It is not that one should create a temple in his private apartment or private room, offer something to the Lord and then eat. Of course, that is better than simply cooking foodstuffs and eating without understanding one's relationship with the Supreme Lord. People who act in this manner are just like animals. But the devotee who wants to elevate himself to the higher level of understanding must know that the Lord is present in every living entity, and as stated in the previous verse, one should be compassionate to other living entities. A devotee should worship the Supreme Lord, be friendly to persons who are on the same level, and compassionate to the ignorant. One should exhibit his for ignorant living entities by distributing prasada. Distribution of prasada to the ignorant masses of people is essential for persons who make offerings to the personality of Godhead. Real love and devotion is accepted by the Lord. Many valuable foodstuffs may be presented to a person, but if the person is not hungry, all such offerings are useless for him. Similarly, we may offer many valuable items to the deity, but if no real sense of devotion and no real sense of the Lord's presence everywhere, then we are lacking in devotional service. In such a state of ignorance, we cannot offer anything acceptable to the Lord. Text 25. Performing his prescribed duties, one should worship the deity of the Supreme Personality of Godhead until one realizes in his own heart and in the hearts of other living entities as well. Purport. worship of the deity of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is prescribed herewith, even for persons who are simply discharging their prescribed duties. There are prescribed duties for the different social classes of men, the Brahmanas, the Vaishyas, the Kshatriyas, and the Shudras, and for the different ashramas, Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasa. One should worship the deity of the Lord until one appreciates the presence of the Lord in every living entity. In other words, one should not be satisfied simply by discharging his duties properly. He must realize his relationship of all other living entities with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If he does not understand this, then even though he discharges his prescribed duties properly, it is to be understood that he is simply laboring without profit. The word svakarmakrit in this verse is significant. Svakarmakrit is one who engages in discharging his prescribed duties. It is not that one who has become a devotee of Lord or who engages in devotional service should give up his prescribed duties. No one should be lazy under the plea of devotional service. One has to execute devotional service according to his prescribed duties. Svakarmakrit means that one should discharge the duties prescribed for him without neglect. 26. As the blazing fire of death causes great fear to whoever makes the least discrimination between himself and other living entities because of a differential outlook. Purport. But there are bodily differentiations of all varieties of living entities, but a devotee should not distinguish between one living entity and another on such a basis. A devotee's outlook should be that both the soul and the supersoul are equally present in all varieties of living entities. Text 27. Therefore, through charitable gifts and attention, as well as through friendly behavior, and by viewing all to be alike, one should propitiate me, who abide in all creatures as their very self. Purport. It should not be misunderstood that because the supersoul is dwelling within the heart of a living entity, the individual soul has become equal to him. The equality of the supersoul and individual soul is misconceived by the impersonalist. Here it is distinctly mentioned that the soul should be recognized in with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The method of worshipping the individual soul is described here as either giving charitable gifts or behaving in a friendly manner, free from any separatist outlook. The impersonalist sometimes accepts the individual soul as being Daridra Narayana, meaning that Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, has become poor. That is a contradiction. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is full in all opulences. He can agree to live with a poor soul or even with an animal, but this does not make him poor. There are two Sanskrit words used here, mana and dana. Mana indicates a superior and dana indicates one who gives charitable gifts or is compassionate towards an inferior. We cannot treat the Supreme Personality of Godhead as an inferior who is dependent on our charitable gifts. When we give charity, it is to a person who is inferior in his material or economic condition. Charity is not given to a rich man. Similarly, it is explicitly stated here that mana, respect, is offered to a superior and charity is offered to an inferior. The living entities, according to different results of fruitive activities, may become rich or poor, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead is unchangeable. He is always full in 6 opulences. Treating a living entity equally does not mean treating him as one would treat the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Compassion and friendliness do not necessitate falsely elevating someone to the exalted position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We should not, at the same time, misunderstand that the supersoul situated in the heart of an animal like a hog and the supersoul situated in the heart of a learned Brahmana are different. The supersoul in all living entities is the same Supreme Personality of Godhead. By his omnipotency, he can live anywhere and he can create his Vaikuntha situation everywhere. That is his inconceivable potency. Therefore, when Narayana is living in the heart of a hog, he does not become Hog Narayana. He is always Narayana and is unaffected by the body of the hog. It's full stop. 28. Living entities are superior to inanimate objects, all blessed Mother, and among them living entities who display life symptoms are better. Animals with developed consciousness are better than them, and better still are those who have developed sense perception. Purport. In the previous verse, it was explained that living entities should be honored by charitable gifts and friendly behavior. And in this verse, and in the following verses, there's a description of the grades of living entities is given so that one can know when to behave friendly and when to give charity. For example, a tiger is a living entity, a parcel of the Supreme Personality, and the Supreme Lord is living in the heart of the tiger as Super Soul. But does this mean that we have to treat the tiger in a friendly manner? Certainly not. We have to treat him differently, giving him charity in the form of prasada. The many saintly persons in the jungles do not treat the tigers in a friendly way, but they supply prasada foodstuffs to them. The tigers come, take the food and go away, just as a dog does. According to the Vedic system, a dog is not allowed to enter the house. Because of their uncleanliness, cats and dogs are not allowed within the apartment of a gentleman, but are so trained that the compassionate householder will supply prasada to the dogs and cats who eat outside and then go away. We must treat the lower living entities compassionately, but this does not mean that we have to treat them in the same way we treat other human beings. The feeling of equality must be there, but the treatment should be discriminating. Just how discrimination should be maintained is given in the following 6 verses concerning the different grades of living conditions. The first division is made between dead, stone-like matter and the living organism. A living organism is sometimes manifested even in stone. Experience shows that some hills and mountains grow. This is due to the presence of the soul within that stone. Above that, the next manifestation of the living condition is development of consciousness, and the next manifestation is the development of sense perception. In the Moksha Dharma section of the Mahabharata, it is stated that trees have developed sense perception. They can see and smell. We know by experience that trees can see. Sometimes in its growth, a large tree changes its course of development to avoid some hindrances. This means that a tree can see, and according to Mahabharata, a tree can also smell. This indicates the development of sense perception. So we will end here for today. We will read tomorrow from this verse on, 329-29. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.